But the goal was to actually work with people on what was the design. So we had a lot of user testing when we started. UBC did a field test to see, make sure it was comprehensible across age, gender, ethnicity. And in that development, we were able to, these are on iPads, however, these are still PDFs. So we were able to do a lot of user testing before we actually touched the line of code, which saved us a lot of time in the end. What we've developed are these interactive survey templates. So this is 3 examples. And one of the big things that we keep in what we try to do is that we try to make it so that, we add some icons. You cut down the literacy level. You add some things that make people to understand it at a kind of a different sort of level. And we do this a lot. So we have icons. We have icons to show size. And we also have a thumb that turns, and as it turns, it changes color and the word. So other ways to try to engage people in the questionnaire tool. In the last 6 months, this is the new thing that we added in. There's a whole part of educational feedback. So depending on what you responded to in the previous questions, you actually get some feedback. So this is, why am I sleeping so little? And that's because that person said that they weren't sleeping enough. We have some information about, that gives you an example of what you're going to look at, and then all of a sudden, and also some comparative data. And I know comparative data has been brought up as being an iffy issue. I still think a lot of people do like comparative data, but we're still trying to figure out what's the best feedback that you can give to people. We have so many pamphlets, paper-based pamphlets that you get. How many people actually take those home and read them at home? Why do we have time in the waiting room that the patient is actually going to be engaged in their health, that we could actually give them that information? So that's one of the research studies that's going on in Seattle right now. While we were developing this, we realized a few things in the long questionnaire. So we started off with the beast, the ASQ. It's 90 questions, and in the ASQ, in the HEADS assessment, they break it up into different sections. So home, sex, education, emotions, that kind of stuff. And we did the same with our technology. So we decided that instead of having it be one long questionnaire that you would go through, you'd actually be able to break it up. It's some sort of gamification, not fully, but people did like the fact that they completed a section and were able to move on and choose which section they wanted to do next. So in this way, it was another way that you could ask a long questionnaire in a much more user-friendly way. Branching. So we've talked a lot about branching. Branching is really, really important, and probably one of the best pieces of technology that we can use for, questionnaires. A lot of the issues that do come up with branching, though, is a lot of technology out there, questionnaire tools, show you all the questions you're going to be asked if you decide that that's the route you want to go. So it's very easy to see what's the easiest way and quickest way out of branching. So because we've done ours in 1 question per section or 1 question per page, you're not really able to see how many more questions you're going to answer or what other questions someone else might have seen depending on the questionnaire. It's really individualized in that support. Multiple language support, really important in today's group. The one thing that's nice about this is actually we give an English backend no matter what. So depending on what questions are being asked, you still get the responses in English. And we're actually working with groups like the Latino Commission on AIDS in the US on Spanish versions that are useful for that population that speak in the language that they actually speak in. So one of the other things that you can do with digital systems that's really important is flagging systems. Ours is really basic. Our system is very, very basic, and we have 3 types of flags. We might add some more in later, but we like the 3 right now. Red flags for risk factors, green flags for protective factors. And these are really important, and it's been interesting how different people have used them. But the green factors are as important as the red factors today, because we want to get people to engage in their health. So if we can say, these are the things you're doing well, and these things you might need to work on. If you can start with that, these are the things that you're doing well, they're more likely to listen to you when you tell them the things that they need to work on. And of course, we have a CSV export for research, a really basic, simple system so that we don't do any of the analysis on the back end. We let you use what program you'd like to use. So our tool versus a community, screening tool, screening risk assessment versus communication tools. So something that I want to talk a little bit about was the fact that communication tools help treatment by engaging the patient in their healthcare. It's a different sense of thing than saying, by filling out this is what you are. It's really a to and fro. And what we've struggled with this is the fact that it actually doesn't make the system much faster. Like, it doesn't mean that you're going to spend less time with your patient. In all actuality, you're probably going to spend more time with your patient. And in that, you just got to, but the question that we keep on coming to is, if you're spending more time with your patient, then why aren't, and you're able to get this data in a very concise fashion, why is that the case? And it's probably because a lot of the screening tools are so narrow that they only fit into one area, and we're not able to fully understand all the other things that are going on. So we wanted to communicate, we want to be able to create sustainable change for our patients, for the people that are using it. We did a feasibility last summer, feasibility study last summer at BC Children's Hospital in McMaster, and the consensus was youth loved it. It was really nice. It's not, it didn't surprise us that much. What did surprise us was the fact that the questionnaire was just so long and they still were interested in using it. So there was no incentives in this. As you can say, the numbers are quite high across the board. The one thing was missing questions at McMaster. And I think there was something that went on there. The other thing that's interesting about it is the completion time. So 100% finished under 15 minutes for 90 questions. 80% of the population finished under 10 minutes. So you're able to get this data from this population quickly. We just need to give them the tools to get that data. Currently TickiT's being used in Canada, US, Australia. We started in Boston Children's Hospital was actually our first site besides BC Children's Hospital in McMaster. But then we're also doing pilots in different areas. So we've moved out from adolescent psychosocial screening, which is where we started, into inpatient units, transition readiness, youth clinics, school counseling. We have a group that's doing sleep research, and urology pilots that's going on at TickiT's hospital right now. So why am I here? Why am I talking to you guys about this? I think for me, the major reason is this is the start of it. This is a new way of thinking about how you can ask questionnaires, but we're just at the start. And what we need is help from you guys who are building these tools, that are looking at developing new tools to look at a new way of asking these questions. So this is a Likert scale-based questionnaire. That was a validated questionnaire, Stan Kutcher's depression scale that we put on the TickiT platform with all the Stan Kutcher. That's cool. It looks nice. It looks a lot nicer than paper. However, you fill out 15 of these, you're still going to get bored. You're still not going to have that same sort of engagement. So the question is, can we look at it and ask the same sort of questions, or ask the same, getting the same responses in a different way? Can we use icons that actually bring out more emotion, bring out more engagement from our patients, so that when they look at the technology that we're using in the waiting room, it looks like the technology that they're using on their phone. I think that we really need to look at the fact that we're asking very personal, important questions from our patients. And yes, we're giving them care and we're helping them out, but we need to give them the respect and the engagement value. So that's what I'm hoping, is that we want to build more questionnaires. We want to work with more groups within this space to continue to test and validate it. So it's a TickiT, New Era Psychosocial Screening. I'm Daniel, and I'd love to answer any of the questions that you guys might have.